Gyomei Himejima, the most powerful demon hunter of the last generation, many years before Gyomei became a demon hunter, he took care of 9 orphan children in an abandoned temple. They lived in precarious conditions. He made an effort to take care of the children every day of his life. It was his family and he wanted his life to be linked to his beloved children for the rest of his life. But the area in which they lived was quite dangerous because at night demons roamed around that devoured humans, and to scare them away he burned incense made from wisteria flowers. But one day one of the children broke the rule of returning to the temple before sunset and met a demon. This orphan was Kaigaku, who would later be adopted by Jigoro, ancient pillar of lightning, to train him alongside Zenitsu. This child decided to do what possible to survive no matter what he had to do, so he offered the demon to let him enter the territory protected by the wisteria incense, removing them so that Gyomei and the rest of the orphan children could be devoured in exchange for his life being spared. He had decided to hand over his family in order to save his skin. The demon immediately murdered the 4 children and Gyomei tried to protect the other 4, but 3 of them disobeyed him, fleeing into the darkness where the demon would take their lives one by one. Possibly the little ones felt that it would be safer to run than to stay there. At that time, young Gyomei was not only blind, but due to the hardship and poverty in which they lived, he ate very little, giving priority to his children, and he had a weak and very thin body. Only the smallest of everyone agreed to stay with him, and she would be the only one to survive with Gyomei because he would explode in anger, bringing out the talent for combat that he was hiding despite having a weak body. Thus he massacred the demon with pure blows until dawn, and for the first time, the angry monk realized the terrifying power he had and managed to save her when people climbed the mountain where they lived to help the girl. He simply said that the man was a monster and that he had killed everyone, referring to the demon that had killed them. Attacked, but by not explaining it well people misinterpreted it, so Gyomei was condemned. There was no evidence because the demon's body had turned to dust in the sun. Gyomei would have been happy to have heard Cheo's voice thanking him for saving her, then Gyomei would not have been condemned, executed. But the news reached the ears of the leader of the demon hunters and he immediately understood what really happened on that mountain. So moving his influences is that he was able to save Gyomei to invite him to join the corps of hunters. He would accept, and in just 2 months of training he would reach the rank of pillar. He would be the rock pillar, powerful, solid, imposing and unstoppable, being a true demon-destroying machine, and with each passing day he became a stronger and stronger warrior. He would take his body to its maximum limits without the blindness stopped him and the environment through the eyes of his heart. Gyomei was now an imposing man, 220 meters tall and 130 kilograms in weight, made up of muscles as powerful and hard as rock despite being a hunter like the rest. He used a sword. His weapon is a long chain that at each end has a steel ball with spikes and at the other an axe. His fighting style is evident, although the axe is capable of cutting due to its design and weight. It makes cuts at the same time. Shatter and crush. The spiked ball works to completely crush and shatter his opponents, and Gyomei was not a simple hunter who cut off heads. He simply pulverized the demons completely due to his overwhelming strength and his powerful weapon. Plus the whole weapon was forged and made like no other sword. It was built to possess extreme durability and resistance to such an extent that its hard forging is thought to surpass the swords of the Hera Sengoku Golden Age of the demon hunters, where the most powerful existed, and when the elaboration of swords was at its peak. The quality of Gyomei's weapon was such that not even the first upper moon was able to break it. So we see that the best weapon ever created was used by the pillar most powerful of the last generation, who used it with great mastery through sound to determine the movement of the axe and the steel ball, and as a pillar it instilled hope every time it arrived on the battlefield because its allies knew that with it victory was assured. Their strength represented illusion, confidence and a great feeling of protection. The flower and insect pillars themselves had been saved as children by the rock pillar, and its incredible power had inspired in them the desire to become stronger and protect others as well. It was how they also joined the group of demon hunters, and where Gyomei Hiba inspired security and respect. In the future he would accept as an apprentice a boy who tirelessly strove to become stronger because he lacked the talent to learn to use any breath. He was Genya, younger brother of Sanemi, the pillar of the wind, whom he would train with dedication to become a great demon hunter. Regardless of his duties as a hunter, Gyomei always followed his beliefs and convictions. He fervently expresses his ideals of Buddhism. When Gyomei meets Nezuko, he feels deep sorrow. For her to have been born in a world like this, believing that Tanjiro was only obsessed with a demon, she proposes to kill him quickly to free him from his suffering. However, after the pillar's training and after a long conversation with Tanjiro, whom he promises to help and guide him in the road, reminds him of little Sayo and the affection he felt for his children, finally completely accepting Tanjiro and his sister as members of demon hunters. Although Gyomei has pushed all his physical abilities to the maximum limit, there is always a higher mountain to reach, and the most powerful hunter of the last 300 years would test his abilities against Musen's most powerful enforcer, Kokashibo, the first upper moon. In the final battle against Musen in the Dimensional Fortress, Genya and Takedo had been almost finished off by Kokashibo, and Sanemi, the second most powerful hunter of all, had arrived to save them, but despite resisting in a 1-versus-1 combat for a time, he was seriously injured and would not resist for much longer. The demon was not even fighting seriously, but Sanemi had a respite when the Pillar of the Rock appears to confront the first higher moon, Kokashibo, who is on another level above the rest of his fellow demons. He marvels and recognizes the power of the Pillar of the Rock. It had been 300 years since he saw a warrior of that level, and he is able to stop the demon for a time without receiving any serious wounds in the confrontation against Kokashibo. The demon tells him that he should regret that all those skills and abilities would have to die one day, and that by awakening the mark this end would come too soon because his age, that there was no demon hunter who did not die in exchange for this power. But Gyomei tells him that he is lying. He knows that there was a demon hunter who was born with the mark and who never died. An answer at the first upper moon did not expect that the Pillar of the Rock would remind him of those memories where the Pillar of the Sun existed, his younger brother Yorichi. Then Sanemi would manage to recover to join the fight, but not even the two of them together would be a match for Kokashibo, who had decided late to use his true power. They would need the help of Genya and Takedo to face him, and giving their all, the four managed to defeat the demon with enormous difficulty. In the end he had regenerated his head, and Sanemi along with Gyomei were still standing. They attacked desperately, but it would be all they would fall at the hands of Kokashibo. But everything changed when Kokashibo received a mental injury when he saw his reflection in Sanemi's sword, saw what the proud samurai warrior of demons had become. Then he died after losing his desire to fight in that hard battle. The losses were enormous. Both the Pillar of Mist and his apprentice had died. Sanemi cried. His brother, but a firm and tireless Gyomei, encouraged his companion to continue. There was still Musen the Demon King, and they had to continue in the final battle against Musen. Once again Gyomei's arrival revitalizes the morale of his comrades and friends. His mere presence inspires a possibility more than managing to finish off the progenitor demon. The Pillar of the Rock gives everything, fighting shoulder to shoulder with all his comrades, reaching beyond the limit of his strength until he achieves victory. The Pillar of the Rock was dying slowly. He feels that the end of his path is approaching. So he asks the medical members of the hunters and those who provide first aid not to waste valuable medicines on him, and that it is better that they go with the young people. He had awakened the demon hunter mark along with the rest of the hunters. As the crimson weapon and the transparent world vision, he knew that the mark would not let him live beyond 25 years, and he was 27. If he survived the battle anyway, he would die at any moment by the mark. Thus he expresses his last will to his comrades, and then he returns to see his children who were waiting for him, worried and eager to apologize for disobeying him on that tragic night in which they died, and confess that they had not fled or disobeyed simply out of fear. In reality they had done it to protect Gyomei, who was blind, went out to look for farming utensils such as weapons or ask other people for help. Gyomei felt happy to hear these words and to see them again. He said goodbye to this world, receiving the love of his children that he had waited and longed for so much. He returned to his family after having completed his mission. Thus end the days of the most powerful demon hunter of the last 300 years, a warrior of incomparable strength. This was the story of Gyomei Himejima, the Pillar of the Rock, a man dedicated to his work as a demon hunter who for many years was the main sword and shield, the protector of the demon hunter organization.